Alright, this is video one. Just trying to edit some content on your website. So here I am on your website, obviously. First thing I'm going to do is log in. So login is in the lower left hand corner. I think you remember that. So I'll log in as me. Now I'm in as an administrator on your site, so I should be able to do almost everything that you can do. You're actually you have a host level administrator, which means that you have actually more power than I do with my login, but I have your login, so I can use that too if I need to. Typically when you first log in, you're going to see something like this. It should be WYSIWYG, which means what you see is what you get. So you'll see your website as it would appear to the public typically. There's a couple of extra things here. You're going to see an extra black toolbar at the top. And for some of the applications, you're going to see a little icon here, like this is for this feedback settings section. But I'll go into that a little bit later. Main thing you want to be able to do is you want to be able to change the content on your website. So, for instance, on the front page, I have some content. What I want to do is I want to go into edit mode so I can actually get at the information to edit it. So in the upper right hand corner, I'm going to mouse over where it says edit page, and I'll edit this page. If you want, if you select stay in edit mode, what that means is you'll be in edit mode for every page on the site that you visit. And so you won't really get a WYSIWYG feel. You won't be able to see necessarily what the users see in the same way they would see it unless you come out of edit mode. So I'll show you when I go into edit this page. Now you could probably see there's a marquee around certain areas of the page. You can see that. You can also see some extra function keys or function buttons here. One of your questions is, are there keyboard shortcuts to get to do any of this? If there are, I don't know what they are. So HTML is pretty dumb language, and so it's not real complex. So what you want to do in order to edit content is you want to go here. This is a box that has content in it. So I can see this little pencil. When I mouse over this pencil, it allows me to edit my content. So I'll click on that. Goes into edit mode. This is kind of weird to see it come up in this way. What you want to see is you want to see an HTML editor. So if when you log in you actually do see your content coming up in this way, this is fairly useless because then you have to be an HTML expert in order to know how to change your content. So you don't want to do that. You actually want to look at HTML, and you don't want to look at it in a basic text box. You'll want to look at it in a rich text editor. So with the rich text editor, this is kind of a WYSIWYG text editor as well. And again, WYSIWYG means what you see is what you get. If you do want to go in and tweak the HTML in a kind of a granular fashion, you can click on this HTML tab down at the bottom. Shows you the same thing we were just looking at, just that it shows it to you in more of a rich text editor, kind of like Microsoft Word or something like that. But for the most part, what you'll want to do is you'll want to stay in this mode, in the design mode, and you'll want to add any text here. Add, edit, delete text as you see fit. Now this, right over here, the way this aligns over to the right, you see how it's kind of right justified your picture, and then this information. Oh, and also this information down here is just regular text. You can edit that as you see fit. Also, I can pull down this corner here, make it a little bit bigger. That might make it easier to work with. When I go into my HTML view, I don't want to try to give you a lesson on HTML or anything, but this is a division. That div inside of it has all your image and your credential information. Let me see, and that should come down to about here. So this div tag is an opening div tag, and this with the / in front of it is a closing div tag. So this is all that credentialing information right here. And what I'm doing is telling it to float to the right of the screen. So This is probably more than you even want to know. I'm just telling you how we get that image over there on the right-hand side of the screen. And so what that does is it floats to the right of the rest of the content that's in this page. So here's the rest of the content, which has, of course, the little image of the hand, and then it's got your text that people see when developing treatment protocol, etc., etc. Now, if I come back down here, go into design mode, you can see that when developing a treatment protocol, etc., etc. So one more time, just one more thing about that float, just so you know, because you might need to position things every now and then. This image is the image of that hand, and you can see that it's got a float left on it. So it's floating to the left of all the rest of the content that happens to be in this paragraph tag. Okay, enough of that. I know I'm boring you, and you probably don't even want to know about that anyway. But I'll go back into design mode. So changing the content on a particular page typically is pretty much as simple as this. Now, this this module that we're editing content in a module. This module is just a simple rich text HTML module. If I want to put in a picture here, I can position my cursor wherever I want to put in the picture. And there are tools up here at the top. If you mouse over them, you'll be able to see what the functionality is. So this is for saving a template. This is for inserting media. So that's probably a good guess. There's nothing here that looks like inserting a picture. So if I click this mouse or this drop down, I can go to my image manager, my document manager. If you have a Flash, I'll call that an applet, but that's probably not the right name for it. Other media, you might have videos or something like that that you want to manage and you want to put on your site. Right now I'm going to go into my image manager. I don't think I have any images available on my desktop. I do know where there's an image though. So in here on the root of your website, you might want to try to just maintain some sort of sensibility in the directory structure here. So my folder is something particular for you. When you log in, you have access to my folder. So this is DS Majors folder. When you come in as a super admin, you'll be able to see everybody else's folders. But anybody that logs in, like Heidi or something like that, will have her own folder in here. We have an area for slides. This is something I set up for the rotating slides on the front page, so we won't even mess with that. Typically, you want files, so you can see where the hands are here, your headshot. There's also an images folder. Here's a bunch of images that actually came with the application. But you'll want to either create another folder by clicking this new folder button, and you can create a directory structure that makes sense to you, or you can pick one of the folders that's already created and you can actually upload a file. So let's go ahead and upload an image. I'm going to select one here. Now I'm looking at my hard drive. This is actually obviously a Mac environment, so you're not going to see the same thing. Let's see what we got here. So this add button, just so you know, I can upload 3 images here. As you can see, there's a place for 3 images. If I want to add a 4th or a 5th, that's what that add button is for. So if you have a number of images to upload all at once, you can do that. You can also zip up your images and allow the application to unzip them automatically if you'd like. But anyway, so I've added 1 image. I'm going to upload that. And now I can see I was on the images folder. I can see that image is right here in the images folder. Properties for an image. So this might be important if you want your text to wrap around your image in any way. So right now this image is 400 by 400. If I want to change the size of that image, probably what I'll want to do is I'll want to click this little chain link. You see how it's disconnected right now? That means that if I make this 200, then my image is going to be 200 by 400. But let me push this back to 400 by 400. If I click this link so that it snaps together, that means you're keeping the aspect ratio. So if I change one of these, the other one will change as well. So you see that that changed the height to be a corresponding height so that your image isn't skewed and bent out of shape. All right, so that's important, is to know how to use that little aspect ratio tool right there. All right, let me, I'll keep it at 200 by 200. If I want to put on a border, I can put on, this is measured in pixels, so I'll put on a 3-pixel border, and let me give it a border color of green so it'll stand out to us. Alt text, so this is important. Nobody that comes to your website will see the alt text, but in the tag underneath, there's an alternate text representation that will appear. That's important for search engines, so what you want to do is you want to do something like best massages around. All right, you want Google to know when they come and crawl your site that there's certain things that repeat themselves over and over and over again so that you get pushed further to the top of your search rankings. So it's important that anytime you use an image, try to put an alternate text behind it. There's also a long description, which we'd already talked about when you were visiting us in Massachusetts. But this is also for search engine optimization, so you might want to put in a long description for this image. I'll leave it just like this. And then margins. So you might want, especially if text is going to be wrapping around your image, you might want a margin around the image so that the text doesn't butt right up against the image. I'm going to leave it without a margin right now. And let me see. If there's a class that you've defined that you want to use, I won't even go into that right now. But let's go ahead and insert that image. So it's 200 by 200 with a 3-pixel green border. I'm going to actually drag it and move it right up here somewhere in the middle of my text. All right, so I moved it in the middle of a word, and I don't want to do that. All right, so I can see that there's a, I'll put it right next to, do it that way. I want you to see that the text is butting right up against the image. So let me come down here and I'll take a look at the HTML and I'll show you here. Here's the image. And here's the alt text that we typed in. I just wanted you to see that there. So it is there. Search engines will read it, but your users won't be able to see it. It's just kind of behind the scenes on that image. All right, let me go ahead and click on that. And if I right click on it, I can go to my properties. All right, again, let me see, alt text, border, the ratio, aspect ratio is here, and the size is here. Image alignment, now I want you to be aware of that one as well. So let me go ahead and align that to the left. So this is going to put a float on the image, which is what I showed you a little bit earlier. And let me just hit OK. And so now it's floating to the left of the content that's next to it. So I can see a float. Let me go ahead and go back into properties. Oh, that's interesting. I'll click my image and go into my properties. It's not pre-populating. So that's curious. I don't know why that is. Okay, let me try it one more time. All right, I'm going to delete that. Or let's do this. Control Z. And that's actually not working in this context. Let me get rid of that. All right, I'm going to put that image back in. Whoops. And I'll go to my properties. I'll float to the left. Make this 200. Make sure it keeps the aspect ratio, and give it a border of 3. Green. And no alt text this time. And let me see, insert that. And just make sure the properties come back up.
You're on the phone?
No, I'm recording a video for you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'll be
questions. Oh, I got it.
I'll be done in a second.
Oh, no worries. I'm not.
Okay.
I was just didn't want to be rude with the music.
No problem. All right, so you can see sometimes you have quirky behavior when it comes to HTML tools. But anyway, that's essentially what you want to do in terms of putting an image into your content. Let me try that one. There we go. Now, for some reason, it's just not coming up. Don't know why that is. Let me delete it again. But I do want to show you one more thing here. So let's insert that image one more time. Let's reduce it to 200. And we'll align it to the left. And this time I want to add a right margin. So let's give it 6 pixels. And I'll do a top margin as well, 4 pixels. And then I'll insert that. All right, what you can see is between the text and the image, there's a margin. So you see there's white space there, which makes it read much better. If you have text that's flowing around your image, you want it to read well. So you don't want the text butting right up against the image, especially if you have a border on the image. All right, so that's one of the things I wanted to show you. So that's about adding or editing content, adding images. What I'll do is I'm going to cancel this because we don't want it on your website, and I am live here. But just to go back through that again, you want to go into edit mode, and then you want to hit your edit pencil, edit your content, and then that'll take you into edit mode. For the slideshow itself, well, let's do that in a separate video. So anyway, full stop. I'm going to end this video right now, and we'll go on to some more.